Courtroom, County Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas. As the invocation is the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flag. Chapter G.H. Jones and Commissioner Washington will lead it.
Our Father, our God, how great thou art in all of the universe. Thanking you for this day. This is your day that you have made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. This is election day in Texas and many other states. Pray that those individuals go out to the poll and vote. Pray for our county judge, our county commissions, as they do business for Brazos County. Always lead them and guide them in the right direction and in the right path. Pray for the Brazos County Courthouse family. Pray for the state of Texas. Pray for those up in Washington, D.C. We pray for all our troops and all of our law enforcement officers whose lives are in jeopardy each day. Take care of them and protect them. Now, God, be with us throughout this day. Everybody says amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you, Chaplain Jones, Commissioner. Second item on the agenda is call for citizens' input and/or concerns. And Jennifer, why don't we introduce Melissa Perez, new Risk Management Director.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. I want to say thank you, Mayor. Judge and Commissioners. I'm sorry, I come from the city. I'm sorry.
You came from the city, so.
And everyone who's here, I've met several staff members this morning. I'm so excited to be here. I've been welcomed with open arms, and thanks to Jennifer and her staff as well. Looking forward to being here and being accessible in anything that I can help you with in your departments. And of course, I'm just eager to get started. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. Thank you. Any other call for citizens' input and/or concerns? Number 3, we'll go to presentations. Update for Brazos Valley Groundwater Conservation District. Alan Davis.
Good morning, Judge Peters, all commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of give you a summation of what's happened in 2015, where we are right now. And I have provided, I hope that each of you last week got a copy of the annual report. It goes into detail about our goals and objectives and how we've met the objectives in 2015. I did go ahead and bring you 2 pieces of paper today, which you also got last week. But the main one very important one is the one that this single sheet that talks about how much water's been pumped, how many wells there are by aquifer, and I just want to stress one thing here. Our aquifer du jour certainly is the Simsboro. You know, that's the one that everybody looks to, and how much water's been pumped. I want you to notice that this year we pumped something less than 57,000 acre-feet. Back in 2011, pumped nearly 70,000 acre-feet. All of our aquifers, we pumped less water in 2015 than we did in 2015 than we did in 2014, going back several years. Climate rained a lot, so we had a lot less production. Oil and gas didn't see nearly as many rigs out there, so we have very little activity in our minor aquifers. They weren't using water from the Simsboro anyway. It was too deep for them to get the water, so they were going to those shallower aquifers. So we had less production. And I just want to bring to your this we have every single year. Our board gets this every single meeting, so that they'll know exactly where we are as they go through the permitting process. The line at the top that's in red, and it says the MAG, which simply means managed available groundwater. Those are numbers that are spit out from the groundwater models. When we say, here's how much water we've pumped up until now, and then as we go through the process and look out to 2070, which we're doing right now, we're looking out and saying what is anticipated in the way of pumping out to 2070. Once those numbers are put into the groundwater model, it spits out these red numbers. And in 2010, you can see that our MAG numbers in many cases are lower than our permitted numbers. Our permitted numbers, we continue to pump and we continue to permit. The way that we're able to determine what's happening in the aquifers is not by how much the model says is available, it's by our well monitoring program, which we go out and measure the static levels in water wells from one end of the district to the other, aquifer by aquifer, and see how much is our artesian pressure being reduced. That's where we are. That's how we do that. We don't manage to the MAG, we manage to the desired future condition, which is simply how do we want the aquifers to look 50 years out. Right now, at this moment, we're in the process of finishing up our 2015-2016 round of desired future conditions, which we've got to be in cooperation with Mid-East Texas to our east, with Post Oak Savannah to our west, Lost Pines Groundwater District in Fayette, and we have to come to on common terms and agree to each other's desired future conditions. We can't just do that by ourselves. We have to look, because the aquifer is shared by everyone. Pumping that happens in western Burleson County, Vista Ridge coming online maybe in 2020, that has an effect on the water wells in Bryan and College Station and Texas A&M. It has an effect on our artesian levels. So we've got to look across the board, and we will be offering up and probably finishing our desired future conditions for this round at our next meeting on March the 24th. And then once that happens, we'll go into a 90-day comment period. So the public will be able to say, here's what has been set out as a desired future condition for 2070. They can make comment, when we're required by law to look at every comment, we are to respond to every comment. We have to now do an explanatory report that says we've considered every single comment and here's why we did or did not use that. So we're in that process right now. The monitoring well network, 150 wells right now. We've changed it up just a bit. We were monitoring many of those wells monthly. We're now going to where we're going to be doing, most of them are going to be done seasonally, January, April, July, October, seeing those seasonal up and down so that we'll know what's happening. The Bryan College Station, the wells that get heavily pumped, we'll be measuring them probably throughout the entire summer, just so that we can see what's happening in the well field. We're currently looking at trying to obtain old oil and or gas wells along and south of Highway 21 and east of Highway 6. In that quadrant down there, trying to find wells that have been drilled through the Simsboro that we can take and that's online to be plugged, and get the oil and gas company to plug it back up to the bottom of Simsboro, and then we'll take it from there, make an agreement with the landowner, and use it as a monitoring well. We have nothing at all out in that area, and we need to get away from the influence of the big well field out here on OSR at Sandy Point, that whole area out to where the main well field is. So we're trying to get something out in that area where we can put a pressure transducer, and we can see what happens all the time in an unpumped area. So we're very much working on that now, trying to get a more grid-like look from south to north. We've added many shallow or unconfined wells, meaning some of them hand-dug wells, Simsboro and Hooper back up to the north, because down dip pumping in Bryan College Station, pumping down in this area affects that water table level back up to the far north. So we've added several wells in that regard. So Our revenue for 2015 was $628,000. Our expenditure was $549,000. It's going to be definitely lower coming into this next year because we just didn't pump as much water. So our 2016 numbers are down, probably about $80,000, but we still are very much well financed and can do the things that we need to be doing as far as conservation efforts. One thing that we will continue to do, we're into our second year now, and I know y'all have probably seen it, but we have what's called the Brazos Valley, the BV Water Smart, which is where we have put that 186 square mile footprint over Bryan College Station and Welborn and out towards Wixon Valley of weather stations and wireless rain gauges. And we're collecting solar radiation, temperature, wind speed, and total rainfall so that we can know and calculate the evapotranspiration. People can come to the website and see exactly how much they need to water at their house at any time rather than guessing at it. And that's what most people, we know that there is a tremendous amount of water that could be saved by simply watering properly and not overwatering. So that's in our second year on that. We felt like it was successful last year, continuing to try to get that word out. We also went up last year, and I know many of you probably saw the conservation tips from time to time on KBTX. We felt that was very successful. Got a lot of good feedback on that. We'll be back up again this year throughout from mid-March through the end of September to get people to be cognizant of water conservation, whether inside the house, out on the lawn. Here's the things that you can do. These are things that I tell my fifth graders. When I go and teach, I teach, that's fourth, fifth, and seventh graders know how to conserve water. They pay attention, they know how to do it. We know that they're telling their parents too. We're hoping that those ads, those infomercials that we're putting up are also making an impression on the adults. Adults have a little harder time grasping this stuff. I guess because maybe they don't want to. On the education, last thing I'll say here is we continue to expand our education program. We taught about 4,500 kids last year in individual class settings about water conservation, how the aquifers work, how we get water, how does it get there, how do we get it out, how do we keep from contaminating, how do we protect it. We've got nearly every 4th, 5th, and 7th grade in College Station on, about 3,000 kids over there. We have every Robertson County ISD on board. That's not but about 250. We continue to expand in Bryan. We picked up another 3 or 4 schools. We're still lacking about 4 or 5 of the schools being able to get in. It's been a little more difficult. I have hired recently a young lady that is out, not quite out of school. She's interning with us now, but she's going to do 2 things. She's going to be my educational coordinator. She and I are going to split that education. It's gotten so big that it's become an animal, and so needs some help. And then she and I are also going to split the well monitoring so that we can monitor on a very timely basis and do it in a very methodic way. So that's pretty much the report. If y'all got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Yes, Ken.
Are they still looking at I guess, diverting water over to San Antonio from this area?
Well, it'll be at earliest it's going to be 2020 before that happens. They have drilled a couple of wells over there. That whole thing it's in a little bit of a flux right now because Abengoa is going through a bankruptcy, and they're part of the whole Vista Ridge project. So from what I've been told, and from pretty reliable sources, there are those that are looking to come in and share in that project and take some of Abengoa's debt away. That would lower what partner or what percentage they've got and bring some fresh money into the project. But when we're concerned, as far as we're concerned about how much water is going to go out and what's the effect going to be. So whether it happens or doesn't happen, we've already planned for it. So, one other thing I would like to bring to your attention is we know that the groundwater models that spit these model available out, we know because we've been measuring our water wells, we know that it overestimates the effect of pumping. And because of that, Brazos Valley GCD, we put in $130,000. Post Oak Savannah put in $230,000, and we partnered with the Water Development Board who put in $320,000. We got about $690,000 that has gone into updating that groundwater model to get a better idea of how do the faults affect the transmissivity of the water, the interconnection between in the Wilcox, how those three are one interconnected, but how much do they interact, and surface and groundwater interaction. So we won't get that till probably late 2017. We weren't able to use it in this round of desired future conditions. We'll be able to in our next round in 2021. So your board members from Brazos County, those from Robertson County, saw that it was very important that we get the best science, so that when we're managing these aquifers, that that we have the best science available. And I did skip one other thing. For the first time, you have a rule that's been put in place by your board, by my board, that will enforce the desired future conditions. So, meaning that we have triggering levels, Rule 7.2, and it allows for, as we look at the desired future condition and as we watch the artesian level decline, and the fact is it's going to decline over time, we're going to use that, and we're probably going to use more than we recharge. So there's going to be a slow reduction. By the way, and I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you just like I tell the fifth graders, nothing in these aquifers happens fast. They don't go down quickly. They don't come back up quickly. Okay, that's just the way these aquifers are robust. They are tremendous amounts of water, so everything happens very slowly. We have in place triggering levels, 65% of the desired future condition, 80% is level 2, 90% is level 3. And at each level, the board can do certain things and say, okay, we've reached 65%. This is long before there's any curtailment. This is long before we say, here's the sustainable pumping that we can do out 100 years. It's time now. We've gotten 65% of that. Let's now do another study. Let's see. So it's a very flexible thing, and that's in place. The unique thing that we have yet to find anywhere in the state is they're now working on what's called a conservation credit plan, which means if you're a permit holder, we want you to start now finding ways to conserve water. And if you'll do that, then we will set up an account that will allow you to put credits into that account, so when curtailment comes many generations from now, you'll be able, as we've gotten to a sustainable level, say here's where we're going to pump. Not going to pump more than this unless we change our desired future condition. Here it is right here. You can start applying some of your credits from your account to soften that first or second curtailment. So it's an incentive to start now to find those methods to conserve the water, whether it's a municipality using ASR or an aquifer storage and recovery, a direct potable reuse, whatever it may be, to an industry putting in more water-friendly equipment like Sanderson Farms or whatever it may be. We have it for agriculture, we've got it for industry, we've got it for rural water supplies, and we've got it for our municipalities. And right now we're just tweaking that, trying to find out exactly how are we going to weight out those methods that you'll be able to use. So that's probably at some point in 2016 that's going to be adopted also, but we're still working on that. Can't find anything else in the state even looks like this. And when we talk to people, they go, never heard of this. Well, we're gonna make this work, and I think you can be proud that your groundwater district and your board members are the ones that said, if we're gonna put a curtailment plan in place, we're gonna have a conservation credit plan so that people will be incentivized to conserve, so. Sorry I went off, Kenny.
That's what I wanted to hear.
The artesian wells, y'all see any of those coming back at all that we lost here in the last few years?
What wells that we
21
lost?
artesian wells that have quit. Have you seen any of those starting to?
Well,
go again or not?
I'll say this, the artesian level in our, like in Simsboro, has come back 10 feet, just in the last 18 months. That was by less use. See, we don't have a good handle on recharge. We really don't know how much recharge that we get. Water Development Board, that's just one of those kind of I'll call it an Achilles heel maybe, but we just don't get a real good handle on how much we get on recharge. But yeah, I don't know of any wells I'm not personally familiar with any wells that had just gone dry that all of a sudden now they've come back. But because people tend to, once they get down that low, they tend to go drill another well anyway. Were any particular wells you were thinking about?
I've got a couple that quit. I'm just wondering.
Oh.
They hadn't started back.
And some of that also happens. We have people that have a well that might go dry or get down to where they're sucking air, and you'll find out it was drilled at a period of time where they wasn't a lot of water being used. They didn't drill through the whole sand. They just drilled as much as they needed to get the amount of water they needed at the time, and they left a lot of undrilled sand below. If they drilled that whole sand, they might have been able to get a well that may still be in production today. So I find a lot of that. Those wells are drilled in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and there wasn't a lot of water production going on at that point. We didn't have, what we have around here today, so. Any other questions? I do have a couple of more of these. If anybody would like one of these, you'd like one?
There you go.
Okay.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you.
Did you have a question?
No, I would like one, but.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right. We'll move to and consider and take action on agenda items 4 through 24. Number 4, order dividing one election precinct, number 67, and combining into another election precinct, number 70, to comply with City of Bryan Annexation Ordinance 2116.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 5 is request for out-of-state travel for Wayne Dickey to travel to visit Lafayette Parish Correctional Facility on February 22nd, 2016.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 6 is acceptance of donated awarded property abandoned by inmates.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 7 is resolution 16-002, approving the advance funding agreement for the Home System Local Government Intersection Improvement Project with Texas Department of Transportation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion.
This is to allow TxDOT to work with Brazos County and City of College Station to improve the Greensbury Trail intersection at the end of 2154. Long-awaited project happening now.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is resolution 16-003, authorizing the submission of grant application for Brazos County Drug Court.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is resolution 16-004, approving the submission of grant application for the Victims Services Project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Made second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, Resolution 16-005, approving submission of grant application for Crimes Against Women Unit.
Move approval.
Second. Motion made second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is Resolution 16-006, opposing Texas Commission on Environmental Quality proposed permit number WQQ 0015225001 KBARC LLC. I think we may need some discussion on it. I think we've got a couple of folks in here that probably may want to speak. Kenneth Netherland, I think maybe you want to speak on the issue, or do you?
Yes.
Okay, come on up.
First of all,
What's your address, I'm sorry, for the record?
sure, it's 6834 FM 1179 Bryan. Judge, Commissioners, thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to address you regarding this resolution. I wanted to say, first of all, I think that its approval would set a bad legal precedent for the county, where one wastewater treatment plant would be denied versus if the cities came in and asked for a new permit, with the TCEQ backing all of them for the science and the engineering that they have. I'd like to see this, us not oppose the permit in our resolution. My business partner, Kerry Smith, and I have owned that property for 18 years. We've applied for the permit. The reason for my applying for the permit is future development. I want to say that in the past, we applied for another permit in the county 12 to 15 years ago. At the time, I had said, I think we ought to go ahead and apply for this permit also, but we decided not to, and unfortunately, what's happened is a lot of people have developed and moved in around me, so it's the not in my backyard syndrome now, and nobody wants development in their backyard, and I wish we would have applied for it. The reason for applying for it now is not that we have a planned development. We just fear that if we wait another 10 years or 5 years, it's going to be that much worse. So we've decided to do it now, and we're going through the process. The science and the engineering that are behind this permit process have studied every effect. The affected people have had an opportunity to speak and voice their concerns. My understanding is all of those concerns have been answered. We welcome the process of the contested case hearing now. We think that that'll further go with all the PhDs and the engineers to be able to answer any concerns, any questions for this effluent that would discharge. Unfortunately, in this process, you have to choose a volume so you can choose a plant. Now, our volume that we've chosen, based on what the engineer's estimate is 300,000 gallons a day. That sounds horrible. That sounds like a lot of volume. It's not a lot of volume. We're probably looking at, and I've been compared to the Carter Creek wastewater treatment plant, tens and tens of thousands of more people on that treatment plant than will ever be on this facility. We use this much in irrigation of our industrial parks in a week than what this volume is. So it's not a lot of volume. My comment has been, as an alternative, would you prefer there be 150 to 200 septic tanks out there that certainly they're inspected and monitored by the Brazos County Health Department, but we all know that nobody maintains them like what one of these treatment plants would be maintained like. So I think the runoff would be less, and I've been told that by the engineers. So I think it's a very safe process, and I do believe that the science and engineering absolutely stands with it. And through this contested case hearing, I'm confident that we'll see that all that information is borne out. The negatives that I've heard have been personal attacks. It's been horrific. It's been bad publicity. Unfortunately, a lot of it, or most of it, has been strictly myths and the unknown. The fear of the unknown is what I've heard from most people. So we've tried to address issues. We've tried to go through it. And as we go forward through this hearing, I've had the same concerns. We've hired the best engineers in the business, and we're going through the TCEQ that has all the doctorates, all their engineers involved, and they have told us consistently that there are no issues with this facility. It is a small facility. My plan is no development anytime soon. What I'd like to see is that the county allow what we already have in place, which is the subdivision ordinance, that we go through that platting and permitting process, and at that point in time is when the county be involved. You can certainly be an affected person at the contested case hearing, but reality is we will go through the engineering and the platting process, and that's when the county really gets involved. Traffic, safety concerns, all of those issues, that's when we address those issues. I do want to give an example, two examples. The package plant we're talking about is, and I don't know if you remember this, but Nantucket was developed on a package plant. It sat right up against Highway 6, and for years nobody even knew what it was, but it was a package plant. It finally got removed here in the last few years when the city finally delivered utilities to the area. That community, everybody that drove by there, nobody down the creeks. I have several friends that own farms down those creeks. Nobody had an issue or any side effects from that plant. That's one example. Another example I'd like to give, because what I've heard consistently from people that are against the plant is comparing it to Carter Creek. Those are open air. It's a huge facility. The facility we're talking about, if you take the development coming outside of Houston and Hockley, which I'm from the Waller-Hockley area. I grew up on a farm there, and I own a business there on Highway 290. It's a home building operation. 1 block away, Daikin Corporation, which acquired Goodman, it's the big air conditioning company. They're building a $450 million facility next door to me. They're going to have 4,500 employees. They're going to have 5,000 plus visitors a year. And if you drive by there today, they've put their package plant against the highway right up front, and it's a little 20 by 20, 20 by 30 package plant, all enclosed. So that's what we're talking about, is something of that type and size, and that's with 10,000 people using the restroom every day. We couldn't pack 10,000 people in our 150 acres out here. So we're talking several hundred, not thousands. So that package plant would be even smaller. In closing, I'd like to say, as Brazos County, we're working with many prospects, both in our commercial industrial park and with our developments. I would hate to see tomorrow it come out that our county voted to oppose a development that we haven't even proposed. We're going to come up front and propose or oppose the development. We haven't even proposed the development. So I guess, do we tell the world of development and industries looking to relocate here and oppose it before it's proposed, or will Brazos County be known for the fair and open process that we know we have? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Bonnie, would you like to come on up? Need your full name and address for the record.
Bonnie Weber, and I don't need to be that close. 7765 Steep Hollow Road, and Brian, 77808. Thank you, Commissioners and Judge, for letting me speak. I represent Steep Hollow Action Association. Currently, we are 270 property owners who have great concerns. and that the fact that the TCEQ has even granted the contested case hearing leads me to believe that there are issues that have not been addressed totally in this permitting process. The final permit, process of this building this plant is it could handle up to 4,000 people. Right now, 1179 is a small 2-lane road. People already have trouble pulling out of their driveways during peak traffic time. So it's not just the 300,000 gallons going into the creek. Right now, our creek is a small intermittent creek. It fills up during rain events, then it dries up in about a week or so. We never have mosquito problem. This would put a minimum of 1 inch non-stop into the creek continually, on down through Steep Hollow and Wixon. We already have a lot of flooding close up to the back of everybody's properties. Everybody's current septic systems were built according to the floodplain. This would change the floodplain in multiple properties. I'm not sure who would pay for that, to have all the floodplains redrawn. I just, there's a feeling of one mind out there that everybody ought to be able to do what they want on their own property, and I certainly agree with that, as long as it doesn't affect anybody else. And so I'll leave it up to the commissioners and the judge. Y'all are wise, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Bill, you got any input?
I'll just go ahead and quickly address a couple of issues. It's Bill Ballard, third floor administration building. And again, I appreciate it. A little of this comes from my knowledge of working with the Texas Water Commission back many years ago as their senior attorney. These water quality permits are usually granted by the Texas TCEQ Commission of 3. On an occasion, those permits are sent to the State Office of Administrative Hearing for a contested case hearing. During that period of time, affected parties are appointed in that case by the SOA judge. We are asking for that in this particular resolution, and in order to act on behalf of the county commissioners, I have to be authorized by you to do that, and that comes through the resolution. And in all contested case issues, you have to initially at least pick a side. And I will certainly comment about, first of all, this is not unprecedented for Brazos County. There was a subdivision that Mr. Wasserman is well familiar with, or a package plant permit that was applied for through TCEQ or one of its predecessors years ago, and it was Main Street Homes. Now it's Creek Meadow or Meadow Creek, I can't remember which one, and the county commissioners, or the Brazos County, was in fact a party in that action also. I feel it is important that the commissioners and Brazos County be involved in these water quality permits from the initial stages in order to protect the human health and environment of all of Brazos County. So therefore, I request this, and in all cases, in courts at law or in the TCEQ, you have to initially have a side. And in this particular one, I have chose or requested that the commissioners choose to oppose the permit. That doesn't mean that that permit won't be granted. It doesn't mean that we will change our view of this permit as things go on. But in the words of Ronald Reagan, since it's a good election day here, trust but verify. That was Mr. Reagan's, or one of his many quotes during his presidency with the United States, and I believe that should be the lesson that we give at this particular Commissioner's Court hearing. and I have no doubt, I know the engineers that Mr. Netherland has engaged on this with Jones and Carter, and particularly Steve Duncan, very good engineers. But again, we did have some problems with that previous water quality permit that was granted. And so I think it is very important that the Commissioners Court vote favorably for this resolution. If there's any questions, I'll answer those.
Well, we also, TCEQ is gonna make the final determination, just like they did at Creek Meadows. But
Yes.
We oppose the deal at Creek Meadows, is that right?
Yes, we were involved in that,
So
and
what this does is just make us a party to the.
we're a party, and if there's input from the Commissioners Court, we can add that. But there'll be a contested case hearing before a state administrative law judge. That law judge will write a recommendation to the county, or I'm sorry, to the TCEQ commissioners, and then that recommendation will be considered by the commissioners. And at that period of time, parties are still allowed to present information to speak on either behalf of or in opposition to that granting of that permit.
So to be a party to it, you feel like we need to do this?
Yes, sir, there's issues, and I think Mr. Netherland would concede to that. I mean, there's siting issues, there's need issues, there's a lot of issues in addition to the science of a self-contained water treatment plant.
May I offer a motion that we approve?
Second. Motion made, seconded. Further discussion, Ken?
Just real quick. Just make sure we don't get ourselves in trouble here. Bill's facts are a little bit off. Number one, there's not siting issues because it's not in the floodplain. There is a lot of people that think it's in the floodplain. The engineers have verified it's not in the floodplain. As far as Creek Meadow, you opposed something, but you didn't oppose that permit that was granted. I'm the one that got the permit for Creek Meadows 5-6 years before Main Street Homes built the houses. I own that property under Wellborn Resources. We acquired that permit through TCEQ through the same process. We sold the property to Main Street Homes, so I don't know what he thinks you opposed, but maybe through the process of the transfer of the permit. But years after that permit was acquired by me, we tried to go through Wellborn Water to get a development to add to a mobile home park that I had there. Very wooded 75-acre tract of land. We went through every extreme we could. We begged Wellborn Water by saying, if you turn this down, you don't know what will come along. We're actually going to save every tree there is. I'm a huge tree guy. Part of this property that we're talking about developing now, we're talking about a 10,000 tree plant. We've done 1,000 so far. There'll be tons of irrigation used out of that effluent to irrigate what we're going to have on the property. But I just want to make sure that you understood that the permit for Creek Meadow already existed. I owned it through a company I owned called Wellborn Resources, and it was existent for several years until Main Street Homes came along. Once we decided we could not get developed through Main Street or through Wellborn Water. So I'm sure what the process was the transfer of the permit. So I just wanted you to know that we had done that. So those are the facts.
Isn't that Meadow Creek, not Creek Meadow?
It's on Copy Bridge Road.
I don't know exactly where it is. Meadow Creek. Everybody's calling it Creek Meadow. That's on Greensbury Road.
Kerry, what is it?
I think he's correct.
Meadow Creek. So here's one thing I would say though for Meadow Creek. A young man that worked for me several years is now a builder here in town. He called me roughly 7 months ago, and he was in the process of going to build on Jim's property behind us at Green Branch. And he was very concerned about what he had heard about this treatment plant. I explained to him what it was. His immediate reaction is, well, Kenneth, I'm going to go ahead and buy the lot and build my house because I live backed up to Meadow Creek's treatment plant. It's adjoining my property. I've been there several years. We've never had an issue. His name is Brian Reese, if you live there or involved in it. So, thank you very much.
Any other discussion? So let me ask, if this resolution passes, I think what I heard you say, Bill, was that for us to be a part of, to have any input, we've got to take, I guess, a side one way or the other.
Yes.
I don't know what, if we're on the side that the resolution says, which is to oppose it. I don't know what, you know, I mean, I understand all the folks out there, the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, frankly, if I were next to it, I'd have some of those fears too, probably. So, I mean, I get it. But if all the science proves out through TCEQ that this is, you know, that it's going to discharge safe water, maybe as has been mentioned, somebody might even could drink it coming out of there, maybe. I'm not a volunteer.
Yeah, not me either.
But, you know, if the science proves out, then what is our, by passing this resolution, what is the impact on what Netherlands is
Well, in the contested case hearing, we'll first be aligned with the protestants, and those will be the people that oppose the granting of the permit. And as the hearing goes on and we have our issues addressed, then we may submit that we request not to be a party anymore, or we may come back and have a further resolution that says we approve of the process. But then again, and Mr. Netherland is exactly right, we oppose the transfer of that permit. But we know that there's been issues in that particular subdivision. Road and Bridge is not here today. We know what happens when we get involved in these permits at too late a period of time. And Mr. Netherland did secure that permit many years ago, but things were set in motion that were beyond the control of the county. The county has limited authority as far as subdivisions go. We have a high-density subdivision in an area that is a constant issue for Brazos County. And so those issues, as well as the science, and that's what this water quality permit is based on, is the science. And to dispute Mr. Netherland also a little bit, all of those issues about siting, need, and everything are readdressed in the SO hearing. So yes, we can change our minds. The commissioners can certainly change their minds.
Well, and, you know, I mean, this fear of the unknown is certainly out there, and not that the public safety part of having a lot of folks coming out to 1179 enters into this permit process. I'm sure it probably doesn't. I mean, ultimately, that is a concern, and, you know, as we all know, the county's got very little control about subdivision. If it meets the criteria, I'm not sure that we could even argue that the plat should be denied because of public safety. I don't really know that. I don't remember us getting into that potential of denying a plat because of traffic flow and trying to get out. I know that counties are very limited in what the authority they've got over that sort of thing. So,
This just gives us a say at the hearing.
Yes, it gives Brazos County a seat at the table.
okay. All right.
Affirmative would be, first of all.
Well, it would be in opposition to the permit.
a vote for the motion, directs the county attorney to seek a party status and oppose the granting of the permit. Period, at this time. And we can change our minds or, take another direction in the future, but I'd like to at least be at the table, have a seat at the table.
Well, and I'd like to say too, I don't think this court is anti-development. We're certainly not. We participated in and encouraged development. We all have concerns about, public safety, those kinds of things. So, I don't perceive this as being an anti-development in Brazos County, even if the vote supports the proposal to it. Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve this resolution proposing the permit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move on to 12. Approval of job description of for clerk temporary 1040 hours, class code 1713, position 2, district clerk.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 13 is interlocal agreement with Bryan Independent School District for funding the Read by Third program FY 2016.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 14 is renewal of RFQ contract 2016-159R for road and bridge engineers and surveyors previously known as 2013-39.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is approval of the following evaluation committee for RFP 2016-171 installation of 8,000-gallon vertical storage tanks. A, Judge Peters, B, Iron Jet, C, Gary Arnold, D, purchasing non-voting, and E, legal non-voting.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None carries. Number 16 is renewal of contract 2016-177R solid waste hauling and recycling, previously known as contract 2013-26.
Move for approval.
Second.
Fix.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 17 is request for permission to enter private property owned by Gene M. Woodall located at 4550 Dewey Shaw Tap Road. Project will require the county to clean out existing drainage channel and replace rock, riprap near culvert outflow to control erosion. Sites located in precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 18 is acceptance of Los Lobos subdivision into the Brazos County road maintenance system. The roads, Los Lobos Drive, Fernando Drive Court, Fernando Court, and Apache Court, and roadway drainage structures are in compliance with the county road subdivision development regulations. Sites located in precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 19 is acceptance of Lewis Mickelin, Brazos County road maintenance system. Roadway drainage structures are in compliance with Brazos County subdivision and development regulations. Sites located in precinct 4.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 20 is tax refund application for the following.
May I offer a motion that we approve A through P as in Paul?
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve A through P. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 21 is Commissioners Court minutes for the following dates.
Move for approval A through E.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
budget amendments, FY 15/16, 23.1 through 23.4, but I think we need to pull off, 23.4, so it'd be 23.1 through 23.3.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 23 is personnel change of status.
Move approval?
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 24, payment of claims. Claim to be paid by Brazos County, claim number 7141868 through claim number 7142111.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, Sheriff's Report on Inmate Population. Sheriff, Chief.
Good morning. Max in the last 24 hours was 592, 54 on monitors, and 12
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Your numbers, I like your numbers better than the sheriff. We'll let you give them. Thanks, Chief. Number 26, announcement of interest items and possible future agenda topics. Number 27 is call for citizens' input and/or concerns.
I would just like to thank Commissioner Patty Bellbauer, for the decision making. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Number 28 is adjournment.